Chris Carlson from the U.S. Forest Service, Pacific Southwest Research Station.
That's okay. All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's symposium on urban forestry and for changing times. My name is Chris Carlson. I'm on assignment as the Deputy Director for the Pacific Southwest Research Station, or PSW, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. My background is as a hydrogeologist. I'm a water person, and I was super happy to see water emphasized in the strategic plan for the center. And I bring you greetings today from Dr. Valerie Hipkins, the station director for both PSW and the Pacific Northwest Research Station, who is unable to be here today. The Pacific Southwest Research Station is a part of the Forest Service's Research and Development arm, often called R&D, which focuses on answering research questions about the lands that the agency, states, tribes, and others manage, as well as about the people who utilize those lands. PSW was founded in 1926 and focuses on the geography and people of California, Hawaii, and the U.S. affiliated Pacific Islands. PSW develops and delivers science-based data and information, technologies, and applications to help people make informed decisions about natural resource management, conservation, and environmental stewardship. Historically, urban forestry research was a focus of our eastern stations, which encompass areas like Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Chicago, and houses several urban field stations for the agency. In California, and specifically Southern California, wildland fire research was the main focus of PSW's research portfolio. While fire research is still a major focus of the station, in recent years, PSW has shifted to include more work on the wildland-urban interface and urban forestry and urban ecology. PSW's recent charter, which was finalized in 2022, recognizes the connection between humans and nature as a strategic research priority. As a part of this priority, PSW supports research into things like disturbances which threaten urban and community forest resilience, barriers to urban forest stewardship, improving understanding of the value added by urban and community forests, and approaches to addressing inequities in and around these areas. PSW has some incredibly talented staff who are working closely with many of you to provide insight into these and other urban ecology and social science topics. I think Laura Roman, Francisco Escobedo, Natalie Van Dorn, and others are here today. PSW is working closely with the other arms of the Forest Service and partners like CAL FIRE and the City of LA to ensure that this research that needs to happen in Southern California moves forward. PSW has produced a field and resource guide for urban tree monitoring, which can support staff and scientists in the urban forestry field. And those two technical reports have recently been translated into Spanish to reflect the diverse community and needs of California communities. So additionally, the Forest Service has coordinated congressional visits to help inform our representatives on the importance of urban forestry work occurring in their districts and the needs of the communities in which the Forest Service is engaged. PSW is also engaged in work such as the California Schoolyard Tree Study with Laura and Natalie that aims to understand how schoolyard trees affect local microclimates, the challenges associated with schoolyard tree management, and the vulnerability of various tree species to climate change. The station is also engaged in work evaluating the effectiveness of environmental justice tools, which are often used for determining eligibility for some federal grant dollars into urban and community forestry, such as the $1 billion invested by USDA in 2023 to support urban tree cover equitable access. Of course, R&D isn't doing this all on its own. The work of the LA Urban Center is a collaborative effort with the City of LA, many other partners, and the other arms of the Forest Service, including the state, private, and tribal, and the National Forest System. I thank you for all that you do, and I look forward to learning more during today's symposium. So next, I will walk through this land acknowledgement so we're all on the same page. We in the County of Los Angeles recognize that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Kitsa, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments. So thank you, and
I'll take it from here.
perfect.
Thank you, Chris. All right. This might be my height. Yeah, I'll use this. Sure. So hi, everybody. My name is Edith de Guzman, and I am here to tell you a little bit about why we're having this event today. The genesis for this symposium came, we started talking about it last fall. We have a group that you will be hearing a little bit about called the Urban Forest Equity Collective, and we were wrapping up some grant funding around this time last year. And we realized that through the process that we had undergone with the collective, we realized that there are lots of people doing really good work around urban forestry and urban forest equity, and sometimes they get to talk to each other and cross-pollinate, and sometimes they don't. And we felt that that was really a shame, and that we needed to actually try to have an opportunity to get the Southern California area together to have these conversations. So we kind of expanded beyond the urban forest equity focus to be a little bit more encompassing, although we will have one of our panels focused on that topic later this afternoon. And so, yeah, so here we are, a few months later, and it's such a pleasure to see that we're practically standing remotely, although there are seats, so please, folks who are standing in the back, make yourselves comfortable and get settled for the day. We're going to have a lot to cover. So let me invite up quickly the planning committee, which includes Francisco Escobedo with the U.S. Forest Service, Kat Superfisky with the City of Los Angeles, Mariana Baboni with USC Public Exchange, and we don't have one of our members right now who is COVID-ridden at the moment, Katie Vega, but these are the folks that you can ask questions of today. You're going to be hearing from each and every one of them, and each of their organizations, as you can see, is represented in today's program. And thank you so much, guys, for putting up with all of this and with me when I'm nice and less nice. And you can see all of the organizations, all the entities that are involved in supporting today's event. So if you meet anyone from these various organizations, from the UCLA Luskin Center for Innovation, UCANR Ag and Natural Resources, which is tabling, USC Public Exchange, LA Urban Center, of course the Forest Service, you've already met Chris, and then LA County and LA City are both here as well. So I want to walk you through the schedule of the day. If you haven't already, you can scan this QR code or go to the URL that's written there, and this will guide you through the day. Give you a moment to do that. This slide will come up again, and we also have it posted kind of throughout the space. So, good? All right. Or tinyurl.com/tree symposium. tinyurl.com/tree symposium. All right. We are in the opening remarks section. At 9:30, we're going to transition to our first panel, which is going to be on the state of research. And Francisco will be moderating that. The question we aim to answer is, what is rigorous scientific research in urban forestry? We will then have a morning break. We encourage you to grab some coffee, some snacks in the adjacent room. And we have 6 organizations who are tabling out there, and we encourage you to please interact with them, chat with them, hear what they're all doing. They're all doing something around this topic that we're covering today, and they're all bring different angles. We will then reconvene here in this room at 11 o'clock for the second panel on science delivery and communication. The question we will answer there is, how do decision makers effectively apply and communicate evidence-based approaches? We will then have lunch, and that we have a taquero that's going to be here. So we're going to have a taco line sort of set up, and that's going to be outside to get your food. Of course, you know that we're here on like the hottest day of the year. I don't know how we scheduled that, but you know, trees are needed. So we encourage you to come back in if you'd like to eat in the adjacent room here. If you're brave, you can certainly sit outside. But stay hydrated if you do. Just after lunch, we're coming back into this room for the third panel, Urban Forest Equity in LA, moderated by Rachel O'Leary. And we'll answer the question, how is LA advancing urban forest equity, both in research and practice? Then we will have a more interactive portion just after that, and we will have various stations throughout the space here and in the adjacent room, where we will dive into some of the types of practices and research topics that could better support plans, policies, and programs in urban forestry. We will then hear some reflections and closing remarks, and we invite you to stick around after that at 3:30. We'll be here until 5. There will be a catered reception with sort of small bites, and then we will send you on your merry way. So let me just make sure that I covered all of the remarks that I meant. Oh, no, housekeeping. So restrooms are between the 2 rooms. There's also a water filling station there. Thank you, Kat, for Van White over there. And if you haven't already checked in, please do so. We have a check-in table. Grab a name tag, and most importantly, enjoy the day. And I will now hand it over to Kat, who will help us kind of set the day's intention.
Awesome, and wow, there's a lot of us packed into this room. How exciting. So as was mentioned, my name is Kat Superfisky, and I serve as the City of Los Angeles' urban ecologist, and I am absolutely pumped to be here today with all of you. I get to work with a lot of you on a day in and day out basis. New faces I'm excited to meet. And part of today, we really wanted to make sure that it's valuable, it's substantive, and it's something that we are able to take good things away from. And a lot of times, you know, we're kind of in our work mode. We're in our brains, we're thinking. We don't oftentimes remember to kind of drop into why it is that we're doing the work that we're doing, into that heart space, into that kind of connection. And we kind of, you know, again, need to remind ourselves of not only the head and the heart connection, but the connection that we have to the external world and to, you know, the plants, the animals, and the rest of the people that we are working with. So we kind of thought that we would start off today by having someone who very much understands this kind of message, provide that message. Now, the RSVPs, we sold out like in a day, 24 hours or something like that, so we weren't able to get Robin Wall-Kimmerer herself to come, but we're going to be showing a small YouTube clip, about 2 minutes, so that again, we get a window into the world of how it is that she really sees the need for balancing Western science with traditional ecological and indigenous knowledge, understanding those interconnections, and really valuing that inner knowledge that we all have as well. So let's all cross our fingers and hope that technology works along with us, and as I push play, hopefully we will hear from her.
Although I'm trained as a scientist, I am coming to understand that the greatest influence I can have is as a storyteller and as a writer. Sometimes people think that what I'm talking about is promoting indigenous science over Western science. But what I'm really working toward is a relationship between them. It's this powerful invitation to look at the world through multiple streams of knowledge, not just one. Bonjour, Ali, my name is Robin Wall Kimmerer, and I'm a plant ecologist, educator, and writer. Traditional ecological knowledge is both a way of knowing and a whole body of knowledge, of understanding the relationships in the living world. This is collective knowledge that has been generated over millennia. Remembering that there was a time in our history when traditional ecological knowledge was intentionally erased through assimilation of our children. I feel a deep responsibility to the restoration, revitalization, and carrying forward of our knowledge. These combined crises of biodiversity loss on the edge of climate catastrophe, they've all come because we treat the earth as if it were our property. So the covenant of reciprocity says that there is no ecological system on earth that can persist if all we do is take. We always have to replenish. I've heard our elders say that one of the reasons that our people held on to our traditional knowledge and teachings against all odds was that one day there would come a time when all of the world was in need of this wisdom. I think that time is now.
So she actually authored a book called Braiding Sweetgrass. Has anyone heard of that book or had the pleasure of reading it yet? So that was recommended to me a while ago, and actually the way that it was recommended to me was not to actually read the book, but was to listen to the book on tape. So if those of you who have not had the pleasure of reading the book yet, I would actually very much recommend the book on tape, the audio file, because of the fact that she writes so poetically. The way that it is that she's taking what could be very boring, dry, textbook kind of concepts, and she makes them into stories. And she helps you to learn concepts through, again, these kind of learned experiences and through words that you're familiar with and you understand. And so very much then she's the one that reads her own words and is the one that is doing the book on tape. So I had a very fun time as I would clock out at the city and then I would go out into my drive yard and put in my earphones, and as I was transplanting little tiny native seedlings from a seed flat to a seed tray with my chopsticks, I would be listening to, okay, got another chapter done, got another chapter done. But again, she does a great job of taking very scientific knowledge and creating great stories out of it to where you don't even know that you're learning something, and then at the end of it, you're like, wow, I learned so much. So I think, again, that's a sweet spot that we all get to play in the work that we do, is helping to, yes, get these kind of concepts across, but making sure that we're not losing folks along the way, and that we are framing things in ways that folks understand. So the last thing that I'm going to say before I pass the mic over to Francisco is I'm actually going to read a little bit of a poem by somebody else that you might know, Rumi, perhaps. And this is kind of, again, getting at the fact that we maybe have more than one intelligence. The poem is kind of acknowledging the facts and the figures that we get, through kind of traditional kind of educational systems, but then also highlights and elevates and acknowledges another kind of intelligence that we have, one that is coming from within us. So this one is called Two Kinds of Intelligence. There are two kinds of intelligence. One acquired as a child in school mesmerizes facts and concepts from books and from what the teacher says, collecting information from the traditional sciences as well as from the new sciences. With such intelligence, you rise in the world. You get ranked ahead or behind others in regard to your competence in retaining information. You stroll with this intelligence in and out of fields of knowledge, getting always more marks on your preserving tablets. There's another kind of tablet, one already completed and preserved inside of you, a spring overflowing its spring box, a freshness in the center of the chest. This other intelligence does not turn yellow or stagnant, it's fluid. and it doesn't move from outside to inside through conduits of plumbing learning. This second knowing is a fountainhead from within you moving out. Thank you so much, and with that, I will pass it over to Francisco.